Welcome to the deep dive. Our source material today takes us right into the heart of a profound philosophical conflict. The Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 5.
Yes, and this chapter is called Karma Sannyasa Yoga, the yoga of action and renunciation.
And our mission for this deep dive, based on the sources you've sent us, is to really try and resolve one of the most fundamental spiritual paradoxes there is. If the ultimate goal is liberation, or moksha, should we renounce the world entirely, become a sannyasi?
Or should we fully engage in action, becoming a karma yogi? It's a huge question.
And it's an ancient confusion, isn't it? It starts right there on the battlefield.
It does. It comes directly from Arjuna, because Lord Krishna had earlier praised the path of selfless action, karma yoga.
Right.
But he also spoke very highly of the path of knowledge, or anana.
So this dual emphasis just left Arjuna, well, utterly bewildered. He has to ask directly, which path is actually better? Which one is more conducive to my ultimate welfare?
And Krishna's answer is, well, it's immediate and it's definitive. He doesn't dismiss either path. He confirms in verse 5.2 that both renunciation of action and karma yoga, they both lead to supreme bliss. They get to the same place.
But, there's a huge but, a crucial caveat.
Yes. He immediately clarifies. He says, of the two, karma yoga, the path of selfless action, is easier and therefore superior for most people.
Okay, wait, hold on. For centuries, the image of the sage, retiring to the Himalayas, quitting the world, that's been the spiritual gold standard. Are we saying Krishna is arguing against that? Or is he just providing a more accessible route? Because for many listeners, quitting the rat race seems, on the surface, far simpler.
Right.
Okay, let's unpack this. Why is what seems like the simpler path, premature renunciation, actually the harder path?
Right.
It all comes down to understanding the nature of our attachments. Our entire worldly existence is basically defined by four principal aims of human life.
Artha, kama, dharma, and moksha.
Exactly. You have artha, which is wealth or security, kama, which is desire or pleasure, and dharma, righteous duty. And those first three are what anchor us, aren't they? They're firmly in the physical, experiential world. They define our ambitions, our relationships, our whole identity.
That's it. So, if a person attempts sannyasa, that outward physical renunciation, before those driving desires for wealth or pleasure or status have been genuinely dissolved,
They hit a wall.
a spiritual wall. Because once you've outwardly renounced those latent vasanas, those deep-seated cravings, they have no healthy outlet. There's no way left to fulfill or dissolve them.
So a modern example could be someone quitting their high-stress job because they just hate the grind, right? That's renunciation born of pure frustration. But they're still deeply attached to the desire for status or security. Their body is in a quiet ashram, but their mind is, well, still back in the office comparing bank accounts.
That is the spiritual cul-de-sac. Our source material cites Swami Chinmay Ananda on this, and he clarifies it beautifully.
What does he say?
He says, without first fulfilling one's desires, one cannot truly renounce them. Renunciation born of frustration is not freedom, it is compromise. You just trade one kind of suffering for another.
That makes a powerful case for karma yoga then. It suggests that action, if it's performed properly, is the very mechanism to dissolve that attachment before you physically quit.
Yes, and this brings us to the purification methods described in the Gita.
The two paths.
The purification of the mind is the key difference. The jnana yogi, following the path of knowledge, struggles against those latent desires, the vasanas, directly.
Through sheer force of will.
Sheer force of intellect and will. Knowledge burns like fire. It's quick, intense, harsh. It works, but it can often leave residues of ego, a kind of spiritual pride.
And the karma yogi, how do they do it?
They burn those same latent desires, but gradually, gently, through selfless action offered entirely to the divine.
Ah, so it purifies the heart without that harsh ego residue.
Exactly, but think of it like clear water washing a pot, a much less painful form of spiritual surgery. By constantly sacrificing the fruit of your work to a higher purpose, you systematically dismantle the very ego that jnana tries to burn away all at once.
This is where the definition of a true renunciate, a sannyasi, completely changes.
It does.
We've covered the difficulty of doing it prematurely. Now, let's get practical. If I'm in the office every day, how can I genuinely be a sannyasi?
And this is Krishna's genius. He redefines the term. He strips it back to an internal state. It doesn't require robes or mountains.
Okay, what is it then?
Verse 5.3 gives us this profound internal benchmark. A true sannyasi is not defined by what they do or where they are, but by one who neither hates nor desires anything.
Freedom from dualities.
Complete freedom from the struggle of all dualities. Only that person is easily released from bondage.
And those dualities,
Yeah.
they're the things that constantly pull our minds back and forth, aren't they?
Pleasure and pain, gain and loss, honor and dishonor, heat and cold, all of them. Freedom from the emotional reactivity to these pairs. That's the key to liberation.
So the Jnana yogi gets there through long, hard discipline. But the karma yogi, the person's still in the world.
They attain it more naturally just by adopting an attitude of equanimity, of samatva, and performing actions without any selfish motive.
This is the unifying thread of the whole chapter, isn't it?
Yeah.
Krishna keeps emphasizing they are not different paths.
Not at all. He says the ignorant see Sankhya, the path of knowledge, and karma yoga as different, but the wise see them as one.
If you're firmly established in one.
You attain the fruit of both. The
Okay.
ultimate state reached by the great knowers, he says, is also achieved by the dedicated actors.
So the goal isn't to stop acting. The goal is to stop being tainted by the action.
Exactly. Non-attachment while in motion.
Okay, let's transition to the mechanics. If the paths converge, how does a karma yogi make sure their work, their life, actually purifies them? What's the formula for action without bondage?
It's the action formula, really, outlined in verses 5.9 to 5.12. It's all based on complete surrender.
And what are the steps?
First, abandon attachment to the action itself. And second, dedicate the action and its results entirely to the divine.
That's the whole game.
That's the whole game. The karma yogi attains peace because they abandon the result, the fruit. The person who seeks the results, though, is driven by craving, and they bind themselves to that cycle of hope and disappointment.
The analogy Krishna uses here is it's visually stunning. The lotus analogy.
Mm-hmm.
Actions do not bind the detached person, just as the lotus leaf is untouched by water.
Yeah.
You're in the mud, but the essence of you remains pristine.
It's an incredible image. Detachment isn't physical distance, it's an internal boundary around the result.
Right.
And there's another, maybe more practical analogy. Surrender to God prevents attachment in life, just as oil prevents rust on iron. Dedication creates this protective layer.
It shields the inner self from the friction of ego.
Exactly. And this all leads to that profound internal state of the realized soul described in verse 5.13.
The city of 9 gates.
Yes, the wise person lives happily in this city of 9 gates, the body doing nothing and causing nothing to be done, because he rests in peace within.
Okay, that phrase, doing nothing and causing nothing to be done, we need to slow down there. That gets into the concept of non-doership, or a karma.
It does. It's a crucial technical point. The realized soul understands that all actions really just proceed from nature, from prakriti.
So when the Gita says the Lord creates neither agency nor action, who is responsible for what happens? For the good and the bad?
Prakriti is the material mechanism. It's the body, the mind, the senses, the gunas. When that veil of ignorance lifts, the self is seen for what it is.
Pure consciousness.
The silent observer. You realize your true self is not the mind that plots or the body that labors. The self simply illuminates the field of action like the sun, but the action itself is the dance of Prakriti.
So the karma yogi is acting through their body and mind, but because they've dedicated the result, they are constantly reinforcing this idea that I am the witness, not the doer.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And this moves us into the visible, tangible hallmarks of realization. What does this person actually look like to an observer?
How do they act in the world?
They possess the supreme vision of equality, Margdarshan. This is the ultimate practical expression of non-duality, of Advaita. It's not some abstract idea.
No, it's the dissolution of all worldly bias.
Yeah.
And the source material is incredibly specific about this.
It is. In verse 5.18, the wise person looks with equal vision upon 5 extremely different beings.
A learned and humble Brahmin,
A cow,
an elephant,
a dog.
and an outcast.
The contrast is staggering, isn't it? Krishna intentionally spans the entire spectrum of perceived worth, from the peak of spiritual learning, the Brahmin, to the most rejected human, the outcast.
And across to the animals.
They see no difference. They perceive the same divine self, the same consciousness in all of them. The form is different, but the underlying essence is one.
And this equanimity, it's not just a virtue. It's called the hallmark of godliness itself.
Even here, in this life, they have conquered the world whose minds rest in equality. The powerful statement.
And once that equanimity is there, once the world has been conquered internally, what's the reward?
Spontaneous, inexhaustible bliss, ananda. And it's found entirely within. It isn't dependent on sense contact or external success. It's the joy that just resurfaces when the cravings fade.
And the final test of a true yogi, the chapter says, is mastery over impulse.
Yes. It's not the absence of desire, but the strength to endure the urges of desire and anger even before the fall of the body.
That enduring power is the real sign.
And when that inner mastery is achieved, when one is satisfied purely by the self, the ultimate consequence is external, universal goodwill.
Sarvahuta Haitrata.
Devotion to the welfare of all beings, it's the culmination. Inner peace leads directly to selfless action for the good of all.
This has been a deeply insightful dive. To summarize the main takeaway then, Krishna declared selfless action, karma yoga, as the easier, more beneficial path for most.
Though all sincere paths, action, knowledge, meditation, devotion, they all lead to the same goal.
Freedom from attachment, inner peace, and that sense of fullness, pranata.
And the final piece of the equation, the way to that peace, Krishna assures us in verse 5.29, comes from recognizing the divine as the enjoyer of all austerities, the supreme lord of all worlds,
Rose, most importantly.
the friend of all beings. Recognizing that compassionate core of existence is what brings peace to the heart.
So the sage is forever liberated by this mastery controlling the mind, regulating breath, steadying the gaze, finding joy within the self.
So here's the provocative thought for you to contemplate building on all this. If finding joy within the self is a purely internal work, controlling the mind, conquering desire, how does the welfare of all beings, Sarvabhuta Haitrata, become the inevitable external outcome of that purely internal state? That connection between profound inner peace and unwavering, selfless outer action, that is something worth mulling over in your own life.
Tatsa.